Hello everybody, it's Jen. Welcome to day 4 of the holiday card series for 2019. We're going to be making a non-traditional holiday card here using some honeybee products. I'm using the Hexagon Bunches Honey Cuts, the Oh Christmas Bee stamp set, and the newly released Holiday Traditions 6x6 paper pad, which has a lot of fun patterns. Some that look glittery, and then perfect pattern paper for backgrounds to make really simple cards. So we're going to get started with the coloring, and I decided to go for a more golden color for our little bee given it was Christmas time, and to go with the pattern papers I didn't want a bright yellow. So I'm using Y28, YR24, Y26, and Y23 to get the color combination that I was going for. I'm using the Y28 very sparingly, just lightly shading with the darkest color to the sides of the part of the image that I'm going to be coloring. You can see here I'm using the lightest marker just to lay down a little bit of color to get that paper saturated. I'm working on Spectrum Noir Premium cardstock. So I'm going in with the YR24, and that will be most of the color for my darkest shades. So using the Y28 very sparingly, and then the YR24, and then blending that out with the Y26. Now these colors don't blend easily together in my opinion, so you just kind of have to work at it a little bit, and you can see as I'm coloring this, I'm actually going over each of the layers with my markers. So I don't typically do that, but because, like I said, these are a little bit harder to get a soft blend, I am going over the previous colors. So this one's a little bit easier to see, so I'm just outlining with the Y28, then going over that and blending it out with the YR24, leaving a shadow here at the top of his head because his little antennae would cast a bit of a shadow, as well as the star for the top of our little Christmas bee here, which is so cute. I love the little play on the sentiment here for our little bee. So now I'm coming in with the YR23. You can see working that blend quite a bit, and then I'll go over the entire image just to help smooth out that blend, and we have a gold little honeybee. I did go ahead and color some of the ornaments as well. I thought it would be fun to have our little Christmas bee have bee colored ornaments. And I also colored the star in the same color. I will add some gold stickles to those just to differentiate them a little bit from the bee itself. So now coming in to color the black portions, I'm using C9 as my darkest, C7 as my darkest midtone, and C5 as my lightest midtone, then my C3 for the lightest. Again, just using that C9 to outline the side of the image, and really using that C7 as the majority of my darkest color. Blending that out with the C5, and then of course our lightest color, the C3. So I wanted to leave the highlight to the center of our bee just to make him look a little bit more rounded. I'll also color the antennae and his little feet, and then some areas there for the Christmas bulbs in the black as well. Using my black glaze pen for the eyes, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll bring in my white gel pen to add the dot back into his eyes. For his wings, I decided to go with a light aqua color, so I'm using BG13, BG11, and my colorless blender, just adding the darkest where the wings are behind another wing and where it touches his body. I also wanted to add a little bit of shadow around one side of the Christmas bulbs or decorations, just to give a little bit more highlight to the wings themselves. So then I'm going to go ahead and blend that all out with the colorless blender. That will push that color back quite a bit. I'm going to leave the Christmas lights white for now. I'm going to bring in something to color those up later in the card. So I'm just going to go ahead and fussy cut out my little bee here once I'm done all the blending and adding the white gel pen to his eyes like I mentioned. So fussy cut him out. First I'm just going to cut around him. I like working with a small amount of paper, and then I can leave a little white border with the second pass of my coloring. So I'm using the sentiment from the stamp set, which says, "Oh, Christmas Bee." I love the font. It's super adorable. Stamping that out with my Versafine Nocturne ink, and then I'm going to heat emboss that with some clear embossing powder. Super easy to heat up, and it just gives a little bit of extra shine to the card. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, as Mary would now say, seeing she's dubbed the term bubble cutting. That is what I'm doing. So I'm just trimming around the sentiment, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my card together. So I decided to use some holographic paper here. This is where the non-traditional part of the holiday card comes into play. But I wanted to give a fun element to our little bee. So I went ahead and trimmed out the center with a stitched rectangle die just because I wanted to save that paper, because no one is going to see that it is cut out, and I can use it to cut out some of the little honeycombs that I'm going to use on the paper. So I decided to go with this darker gray snowflake pattern. I thought it played well with the black in the honeybee. And here's where I cut out a bunch of the honeycombs, and I'm going to have that as kind of the focal panel behind my little bee. So I'm just going to figure out where I want those placed. I want it to look random. So it's amazing how you have to play around with random in order to get it to look that way. But I played around with that, and then just going to adhere those down using my liquid glue, so it gives me a little bit of time to figure out where I want that exactly placed, and I can wiggle it into position. So I decided to pop out all of the insides of the honeycombs, and then I'm only going to place a few back into the insides. I'm just going to get this one under his right leg here, and then I'm going to leave the top one until I get this all filled in. So I wanted to have the inside under his leg just so you could see his leg over top of the pattern paper a little bit more easily. And then again, just randomly adding the insides back into our little honeycomb. So most of them will be empty, but I love the reflection that the holographic paper gives. So let me know what you think about using holographic paper for the holidays. I think they would make really gorgeous ornaments. I don't have an ornament die, but if I did, I would try that out. The lights from overhead are really catching up on the various colors in the paper. When you look at it not in direct light, it almost has a silver effect, which really plays on the pattern paper that I chose for this particular card. So lots of fiddling here to get the honeycombs exactly where I want them, but I really like the design of this. I think this makes a great masculine card. I have friends who used to own bees, and they used to make their own honey, so this would be a perfect card for them. So now I'm ready to go ahead and place my bee onto my card here. I did pop him up with some foam tape just to give him dimension. Same with our little sentiment here as well, and I'm going to adhere that to the bottom of the card. I'm going to bring in some gold stickles, and I'm going to paint this onto the star and the Christmas ornaments. Like I said, I wanted to differentiate between the bee himself and the decorations, just so it didn't look like they were the exact same as him. So you can obviously go ahead and add the stickles straight on to your projects. I often like to squeeze it out on a little piece of paper and paint it. I find I get more control, and I can more easily figure out where I want my glitter to be. So for the light bulbs, I'm using the Nuvo Dream Drops in Fairy Wings. I thought this played really well with the holographic paper. It has the same sort of iridescent glow to it. And that's the card for today. So I hope you've enjoyed card number 4 in the holiday series. Stay tuned for more videos. Here is last year's card number 4 for you to watch in the meantime. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Thanks for all your comments on the previous cards. I've been enjoying reading them. Take care, and I will see you really soon. Bye!